In this video, we're going to be looking back at 10 of my favorite hacks from 2024. All of these ideas are meant to solve problems and challenges when building with EMT conduit and maker pipe connectors, and they all solve unique problems and challenges for those builds. And there's been some really great ones shared in the community that we made some subsequent videos for. One of which is this first one is this hinge hack is so cool is the name of the video. And all of these videos will be linked down below if you want to check them out in more detail. There's also a couple of community posts as well that I'll link down there. But first of all, this one is something that I really loved. Basically, it's just a barrel hinge that's made to weld onto steel gates and things like that. But the outer diameter of it is perfect. It's just shy of what 3/4 inch EMT conduit is for the outer diameter, which means you can connect EMT conduit connectors that we manufacture, the maker pipe connectors. Those can connect to the outside of it, as you can see here. This is a T connector just grabbed onto there, and then you could basically build off of that, and you have an inline hinge that you can then kind of build off of. And if you're creating a gate or something like that, you could make just a really simple hinge that's inline, not really obtrusive or anything. Obtrusive, is that a word? Not really in the way or anything like that. Some of the solutions are side by side, but look how smooth that is because of that ball in there and because of the way it's machined. Really cool, and I really love that one. Next up, kind of in a similar vein, is a solution for making latches for EMT conduit. This is 8 ideas for latching EMT conduit, and there's a lot of really cool ideas in this video. I really liked making this video. But this idea was really cool, and this basically is hanger straps. You can get off the shelf. We also sell them on our website, and you just basically stack 3 of them, or really however many you want, kind of on top of one another, but one of them is going to be attached to the gate, and 2 of them is attached to the build, as you can see there. And then you basically just run a eye bolt or some solution. I think eye bolt works well, especially if you get one like that that's large. But essentially, you can just slide that eye bolt in there, and once you pull it out, you can open your gate, and then you can close the gate and slide that back down in there. That was one of my favorites from that roundup of latches, but there's all kinds of great ideas, so definitely check that out. But that's a really cool one. Next up is a solution. This comes from Tetrode in the community, and I like this one a lot. This is a DIY tool for putting in the threaded pipe inserts that we sell for adding different accessories and things like that to your EMT conduit builds. And Tetrode made this post a while back and showcased this DIY tool that he made for inserting those in, which was really cool. And essentially, it's just a steel off-the-shelf electrical coupling, and you want to make sure to get the cast coupling, not the one that's tapered. I tried to use the one that's tapered, and it didn't work as well. But this one is the straight one here, I think works better, and that's the one that he mentioned in his post. But essentially, you just get a 17mm socket here, and run a bolt through that, and then stack nuts on here, and then thread on your insert, and then you can basically hit the socket and hammer that all the way into the piece of conduit, as you can see there. And that EMT conduit coupling is going to act as a sleeve for that tool, so it doesn't go all over the place and kind of keeps it straight as you're inserting it, which is awesome. And then there you can see the inserts put in the end of the conduit, and it worked well. And then he's got his bolt threaded in there. Really awesome idea, and just really cool. And he said it didn't really hurt the socket, so that's good too. You can reuse that later if you want, once you finish the job with your EMT conduit build and don't need that real DIY tool anymore. You can kind of put your socket back in the set, and who does that, but put your socket back in the set and not really damage the tool. So that's really awesome. Love this idea from Tetrode. Thanks for sharing it. Another idea that I liked a lot was this universal base. The video is "This universal base is perfect for builds." And essentially, it's just an umbrella base. It's got concrete in it, so it's pretty heavy. I think this one was like 20 pounds, something like that. But I got it at Walmart, not that expensive, and essentially just took off or really didn't even, it wasn't already on there because they give it to you separate. But there's a piece that's made to go on top of there that holds the umbrella and it kind of has a set screw to hold it in place. But if you don't put that on there, then you can just put a bolt through the bottom, and then just put a couple of washers and a nut on the top, and kind of tighten that in place. And then you can thread on the EMT conduit to that, and basically just create an anchored base for your build that you can then build off of. And you could have this kind of strong base at the very bottom. You know, if you're working on a patio or something like that and you're making a structure that you don't want to be freestanding and you want it to have a solid base, this is a really good idea, especially if you can't, you know, like in that scenario, if you're on a concrete pad, you can't put, you know, one of the rebar stakes in the grass or in the dirt. This is a good option, and I really like this one. And essentially, it's just the bolt sticking through the bottom there, and then the threaded pipe inserts that we just saw that DIY tool for inserting. You just put that in the end of conduit, and then use the DIY tool to do it, and then thread on the empty conduit, and then, you know, build off of there. So that's a really cool idea. I really like that one. Next up was a hack that Matthew used in his patio trellis build here. Like this one a lot. Essentially, it's just the empty conduit flange from Maker Pipe, but instead of it being just the normal two-piece, the two pieces there that are made to attach it to a flat surface, you can see here that the wall that he's attaching to is pretty narrow, and so it only would have been one side attached to it. So instead, he got a third piece for the flange, and essentially just bolted that to this side of the flange here, and then as you can see, and then bolted that into the wall. So it kind of created this three-piece flange that kind of sits on the corner of this wooden beam here that he was able to secure the trellis to. Thought that was super clever and something we never really thought of that I just think is really awesome and, you know, kind of secures the build in a really good way. And not too hard to accomplish. You just basically bolt, you know, an extra piece to the flange there and then bolt it to the wall. So really cool. Love that idea from Matthew. This idea was something really recent. This was actually this past week we posted this one. This is a telescoping hack where basically you take the telescoping clamp that normally has a knob on it. You can actually take off that knob and use the quick clamp that we sell on the website, or actually now we have a variant for the telescoping clamp with this already on there. But essentially it's just the quick clamp attached to the telescoping clamp so you can quickly open and close it to make a, as you can see there, to make the telescoping clamp even easier to open, and it's surprisingly strong. I was taken aback at how strong it was, you know, just to be opening, closing that, and really smooth, and just a great idea. So I really love that one, and hope you guys did too. This one is cool. This one is from the video, This Cool Clamp Fits Half-Inch Conduit Perfectly. And this is basically a Cheeseborough clamp that's used for light trusses and things like that. And essentially it has a bolt in the middle or between the two pieces that allow you to swivel the two halves of it. But you can basically just clamp that around half-inch EMT conduit. And as you can see here, and then you can, you know, swing or swivel those back and forth. So, you know, kind of a peculiar and unique solution that you might need. I mean, unless you're making like a helicopter or something. Please don't make a helicopter. But, you know, if you're doing something that you need to swivel and rotate some conduit, especially, you know, it works with half-inch EMT, then this is a pretty cool idea and love this idea. So I really like that one. I wanted to share it again. Next up is a building technique that we highlighted when we were building kind of a trade show booth, and it was basically using cabling to secure and add some lateral stability to a large structure. And essentially, you know, we added some bracing with conduit and connectors, but really, surprisingly, we fixed a lot of the wobble using some cabling, and we just, you know, at the top, we just had the open end of the conduit sticking through that connector and hooked onto that with an S-hook and then some off-the-shelf cabling and then the hardware that you get for that off the shelf. And then the other end of that, you know, goes down to the other corner of the build because we just basically did some X bracing, and it goes down, and we used the Maker Pipe puzzle piece clamp down there in the corner, and then instead of using the rest of the connector in there, it's just the end clamp only. So there's just kind of a bolt going between the two pieces, and just basically hooked onto that with the turnbuckle hardware, and then just hooked onto the cabling and then that hardware there. So you can essentially tighten that down and really create a strong and sturdy frame with not a lot of, you know, it's not expensive to get that cabling or that hardware. So really cool idea. We even tested it with ratchet straps, as you can see up there, and it was, you know, just as helpful. So something to do if you're building something quickly and then taking it down, and you just want a rough build that you're putting up and want it to be strong, you can add some ratchet straps even. So that's really cool, and love that idea, and it really helped a lot. It was surprising with how much stability it really added to the build. I like this next one a lot too. This is a eye bolt that you basically thread into a piece of EMT conduit with a threaded pipe insert that we've talked about a couple of times in this video. You thread that into the threaded pipe insert in the EMT conduit. As you can see here, I believe. Yeah, there you go. You just kind of thread that into there, and you just want to make sure that you get an eye hook that has an open enough diameter for the size of conduit that you're wanting to hinge inside of it. But essentially, you just thread that piece all the way in there, and then you can look and see that in this particular one, I was using 3/4 inch EMT conduit for the hinge. It fits perfectly inside that ring, and then we'll hinge the conduit. So it's not, super smooth. I mean, it is a smooth hinge, but there's a little bit of a gap in there. So, there is a little bit of slop, to keep that in mind. But here at the very end of the video, I kind of put together a simple shade structure to kind of highlight this technique. But essentially, if you use the connectors as I did here on the outside of the piece of conduit that's hinging, you can kind of trap this in place there and, keep it from sliding all the way out. But essentially, use this to make a hinge. In this particular case, it was to make an adjustable sunshade. So rotate that to the desired angle, and then, you could use a leg that you swing down and change the height of that with the telescoping clamp that we talked about earlier, maybe, and you can make an adjustable awning. But just a really interesting way to make a hinge that I liked a lot and wanted to highlight again because I think it's just a really great idea. Last but not least is a really awesome hack. This comes from Jim, who made a DIY toy hauler a while back and shared some photos and even did an interview with Dave that you should definitely check out if you haven't seen it. But I love this hack so much because it makes so much sense for different things like this. Basically, he made this awesome camper that is made to haul toys. Well, it's called a toy hauler, but it's made to haul like four-wheelers and things like that. So you can, go camping really easily and kind of maximize space on the trailer by, hauling the four-wheeler inside of there if you want to. I think he's got two four-wheelers on here, but it's just made so you can kind of open the front of the camper completely to get that four-wheeler in there. But this is really awesome. And the specific hack I wanted to highlight is this the solution for insulation, or basically he just built the framework here to sit on the inside, or kind of built this skeleton, and then the plywood sits on the outside of the frame, and he secured that with bolts and things. But then he used insulation panels, basically cut them perfectly to fit in each of the panels next to the conduit. So added insulation to this camper in a really clever way by just, custom cutting these panels for the insulation. We just thought this was super awesome and just a really great idea and clever solution that he shared a while back, and just really cool. So wanted to end the video with that one because of just how smart it was. Definitely check out that interview, as I said, because there's just so many different nuggets like this that are just really cool that Jim incorporated into the build. But I hope you guys enjoyed all these different hacks and ideas. They're all going to be linked down below if you want to check them out in more detail. I just want to say that we here at MakerPipe really appreciate all your business and support over this past year, and we can't wait to see what's in store for 2025. We want to wish you a happy new year. Thanks again for everything, and we'll see you in the next video.